All right, Pauli, we are live. Welcome to Lunch and Learn. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, I want to let our listeners know that we've been having some technical problems this morning. I'm in rural Colorado down in Ridgeway, and my router has been in and out. So if Pauli and I just disappear in the middle of this, I apologize. Hopefully that won't happen. Router seems to be back up and running. And as people come in, go ahead and post that you're here and where you're from and what your name is. I want to welcome everyone to this week's Lunch and Learn. So I'm Kim Reynolds, and I'm an executive coach and founder of Mind Over Mountains, which is a company that specializes in personal and professional evolution. Right now, our foundational program is called the Peak Leadership Experience, and it's designed for women who want to learn new skills and gain the confidence to really move up the leadership ladder. And the intention of these Lunch and Learn series is to bring extraordinary women who live unique lives here to tell relatable stories about their professional experience. And when I invite these women to join me, I let them choose the topic that they want to talk about. So that's really fun for me to see where we're going to go each week. And if you tuned in last time, we had Allison Chun, and she spoke about finding her voice, learning to be empowered and confident enough to speak up. And that was a lot of fun. And today our guest is Pauli Payne, and her topic is Uncovering Your Strengths, a toolkit for finding, embracing, and supporting them. So we're going to take a journey into Pauli's experience at the Peak Leadership Experience. She was a participant last year, really over COVID. You were in that group. Mm-hmm. And I know that you really had a profound experience at Peak Leadership. And I appreciate how today you're going to weave some of the tools that you learned throughout the talk to kind of highlight them and bring them alive. But until we talk about that, I want to introduce you. You live in Seattle, and you are you're an email marketing expert for REI. Mm-hmm. You're also the gear manager and an instructor for the canyoning committee at the Seattle Mountaineering Club. You volunteer for Outdoors for All as a rock climbing instructor. And recently you co-founded a 500 membership of the LGBTQ hikers and climbers group as a space for community to share the outdoors together. So you're a busy woman. Involved in a lot of really good things, Pauli. Mm-hmm. Tell us, I just want to welcome you. I'm glad we could get on here today. About 10 minutes ago, my computer was rebooting, my router was down, and we're texting each other. So really happy that we're here in StreamYard broadcasting to whoever's joining us today. So how did you get interested in the outdoors?
Well, Kim, I grew up in the Detroit area in Michigan, and my family was not outdoorsy at all. We were more book people. We would go canoeing and stuff occasionally, and I played a lot of team sports outside, but the outdoors as I know it now is just not something I was exposed to. I kind of jokingly call myself a bit of a city slicker. But I started reading a lot of adventure books when I was a kid, and I was already obsessed with traveling. So I basically became fascinated with outdoor adventures to like really remote areas. And I went on my first hiking and camping trip when I was 19, and it was a complete disaster.
I want to hear the story. What happened?
Well, to describe it like as quickly as possible, my girlfriend and I took a duffel bag and a JanSport backpack, like a book bag. And that was carrying 1 gallon of water, a box of crackers, a couple sandwiches, a single sleeping bag, and a tent on an 18-mile, 5,000-foot gain overnight hike up a mountain in the Smokies. And that was a humbling experience.
I'm surprised you're still involved in the outdoors.
Yeah. But, I wanted to do the outdoors right after that. And so I began learning how to prepare better. And I'm now a wilderness first responder. I'm trained in just about every climbing clinic you can imagine. And I now mentor and train others on preparing for big outdoor adventures, for canyoneering and mountaineering to really remote areas.
It seemed like REI would be one of the ultimate companies to work for, being involved in the outdoors. How did you get connected with them?
REI is a dream company. I actually had a gear room in my house, several years ago, and my friends would always joke that I basically had an REI in my house. And it kind of occurred to me, why don't I go work for REI? So, the stars aligned. There was a job that was open in my area of expertise, and it's been a great partnership ever since.
That's awesome. So when I met you, you joined the Peak Leadership Experience program. What inspired you to sign up for Peak Leadership?
Well, I wanted to invest in myself, growing as a leader in the outdoor industry. And I truly believe that communities are missing out on not having more female leaders. So I wanted to just lead by example, set an example for other women to get into leadership roles and support and inspire other women to rise to the occasion.
I love it. It was so fun having you you be part of Peak Leadership. It was a highlight for me for sure. What inspired you to choose this topic today?
Well, I have a bit of a type A personality. I'm really driven. I know what I want. I go for it. But because I'm someone who's a bit of an overproducer by nature, I don't often stop and think to bring others along for the ride. It's something I struggle with. And it's kind of like the minute I complete something, or even before I'm finished, I'm already thinking about the next thing. And I've had kind of a desire to put more explanation behind what I do and why I do it. And so having a vehicle for translating exactly what my unique strengths are, embracing them and supporting them, continuing to tap into them in a way that I can be more transparent with others. And, that's been extremely helpful for me in both my interpersonal relationships and my professional pursuits.
I love it. I love how you broke down your talk today. So it starts with uncovering your strengths. How has uncovering your unique strengths and talents been important for your leadership journey?
Well, I recall one of the first exercises we did in Peak Leadership was taking the standout assessment. And that's a tool to identify your unique strengths. And the assessment itself was really cool. It was kind of a new to me way of painting a picture of someone's personality, or as standout refers to them strengths. But I think what I liked most was how it reframed my thinking about what strengths I have and which ones I should pay more attention to, or which ones I should ignore, so to speak. And we talked a lot about our individual results. And I remember the day we discussed what to do with those less important strengths that I have. So
yeah, you had a bit of if I recall, a bit of an aha moment. Can you talk more about that?
Well, I think to get into this topic further, I'd have to go into more detail about what the assessment actually measures for those who haven't taken it.
Please.
There's 9 different roles: advisor, connector, creator, equalizer, influencer, pioneer, stimulator, provider, and teacher. And the assessment gives a score for each of those 9 roles, but it focuses on whatever your top 2 roles are. So for me, that was pioneer and creator, and my lowest scoring role was stimulator. And prior to our discussion about individual results, I would probably take these results and think to myself, I need to work on those lowest scores. And that those are areas I need to spend more time developing and basically get better at those skills. But in Peak Leadership, we turned that on its head. Instead, I came away realizing that I don't need to be the best at everything. And it was really hard to ignore that type A personality in me. Yeah. But that I should focus more on those top two strengths and play into them and what my strengths can do to help others.
I love that. Why do you think it's important for everyone, especially on a team, to learn to capitalize on their strengths?
Well, have you ever heard the phrase "too many cooks in the kitchen"?
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody has. It's one of my favorite terms, partially because right now I have a really small kitchen, but it's true. We all have our own individual, unique strengths, and we can all work together for the greater good. And if me as a pioneer creator, if everybody was a pioneer creator, we would have no stimulators, and vice versa. So I think we should, all be playing to our strengths the best we can instead of spending time working too hard in areas that don't serve us or might come easily to someone else. And, we have a saying like, we're all better together.
Yeah, I love that. Say a little, because these are unique combinations. Say a little bit more about what does it mean to be a pioneer creator?
Well, a pioneer and creator, the exact definition escapes me at the moment. But effectively, it means that I have like unending optimism about what's around every corner, and always looking for like the good in everything, and trying to, like as a pioneer, you're trying to charge ahead and unafraid to take risks. And as a creator, it's kind of lives in the same space as unafraid to take risks and, try things. And if something doesn't work, move on to the next thing and try that and keep going.
I love that. It sounds like you. The next piece of, once you find your strengths, you want to highlight how to really embrace the strengths, because it's one thing to find them, name them, understand they exist. But now it's about really embracing them and putting them into practice. So now that you know your strengths, talk about how you're really starting to embrace them.
Well, another part of peak leadership that I really spoke to me was when we wrote and relayed our crucible stories. And the definition of a crucible is something, it's like trials and tribulations, and it's where things kind of come together and lead to the creation of something new. And so those crucible stories we wrote in peak leadership, it's kind of our unique tale that describes how we got to where we are now. And this was a really deep experience for me. I'm obviously a very driven person, so I've never really had to question what my purpose is, but sometimes life can get in the way, and, that drive can fade a little bit. And writing my crucible story was a serious look into my past. It's something I haven't done for a long time. And when I relayed my story to the group, I actually gave myself goosebumps. And I've read it a few times since and still get them. And it's really powerful to take whatever you feel your life's purpose is and put it into words. And so that story was kind of a way for me to take those strengths that were defined and really, put some meat behind them.
I remember this. I remember you telling your story, and I remember that it was not only really powerful for you, but it was really powerful for all of us. And I remember we were all really moved also. For you, what was it that had that telling your story, why did it have such a big impact on you when you actually voiced it to others?
Yeah. At the time I wrote the crucible story, I was actually going through some pretty serious life stuff. And I went through a few tragic and traumatic incidents in a short amount of time. And then the pandemic hit. And so if I can be a bit candid, prior to joining peak leadership, I actually was at a pretty low in life. And that purpose and drive that I've always had, I didn't have it at the time. I was kind of a bit lost, and It's not surprising given what I'd gone through, but I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I lost like the passion for my passions. And I started second guessing what I really wanted to do and who I am. And I was kind of second guessing dreams that hadn't wavered in 25 years. And writing that Crucible story, it reignited a fire in me that was dangerously low to being close to being extinguished.
The thing when you told that story that really stayed with me was a mantra that sort of emerged from the story, and the mantra of why not? Tell our audience more about that.
Yeah, the Crucible stories, they took our unique strengths and I combined it with my purpose, and it reinforced why I'm here and where I am today. How did I get there? What do I do now that I'm here? And it also kind of unlocked my personal mantra, the question, why not? And I love this question and it constantly bounces around my head. And it's gotten me into some trouble, but it's also opened a lot of new opportunities for myself and the people around me that I wouldn't even know where to start telling you with all the outcomes of what this question has done. But I can tell you what it does for me. And I think the best way I can describe it is if you've ever been stuck in a why loop with a child, like when your nephew's 4 years old and starts asking why to every single thing you say, imagine that, but instead asking why not. And that's what goes through my head in almost every single thing I do. Every task I approach, every problem I encounter, every idea I have, and I just subconsciously ask myself, why not, over and over again.
And I love that it gets you in trouble too, because I think that's healthy. How has it helped change your perspective and help others in the process?
Yeah, it's a question that can be taken a few ways. But generally, the sense I view it, it's similar to the concept of luck. And I think luck is scientific. And when you open yourself to new opportunities abound. And if you're always asking for reasons why you should do something, sooner or later, life's going to stop answering why and stop asking. And when you ask yourself, why not, you'll find it's really hard to come up with good reasons. And every time somebody asks me why, it reinforces the why not. And it's kind of like my nature, but it's also like a muscle. And every time someone's doubted me or themselves, like the why not gets stronger and it keeps asking. And when you ask yourself why not, you either have to answer why you should move on, why not you shouldn't do something, or you have to answer and build on it and develop it. And sometimes you get far enough into that why not loop, that decision tree, so to speak, that you realize that there's no good reason not to do something. And I've shared this thinking with a lot of women in my life, and a lot of women who are struggling with confidence to either, go for that job or try that new climb. And once they started honestly answering that question, their lives changed. And for what it's worth, I've actually been told that several times. I'm not full of myself. My friends have told me, that why not really is a great tool for them to get that confidence to go for something.
I love it's that pay it forward piece, Pauli. You take something that's meaningful for you, that you has impacted your life, and you pay it forward to others. So the third part for you of finding your unique strengths, embracing them, is then supporting them. So making them sustainable over a period of time. How are you currently best supporting this process?
Well, I'd have to go into yet another lesson from peak leadership that I put into action. It's the section we did on powerful questions. And those are open-ended questions that give either yourself or others an opportunity to get deeper into the root of something. And the main key to start asking powerful questions is to stop yourself from asking a yes or no question, because those kind of close the conversation down. And I have to confess that I always used to kind of wing it in conversations. I typically didn't prepare thoughtful questions ahead of time of meetings, or, I just didn't have enough information until having a conversation to have those good questions. But learning the powerful questions through Peak Leadership gave me a tool to reframe my approach to conversations and decisions. And it's kind of funny that it took Peak Leadership for me to realize that I had been actually asking a powerful question all along. Why not? And it's the ultimate powerful question. But yeah, really, I never had a vehicle, like a toolkit to guide me like this before.
What are, help the audience understand like specific ways you actually use this and how it's been beneficial?
Yeah, using powerful or also leading questions is another word for it. It's kind of a brilliant way to practice them through like coaching, which is another thing we did in Peak Leadership. And learning about them and practicing them, it made it more of a reflex rather than something I had to even think about. So once I started using the powerful questions, I had my working relationships changed. I'm now able to like guide my partners along the path to solutions instead of essentially, like I said earlier, solving a problem and then bringing people into the solution later. And it's been an absolute game changer for collaboration.
I love that. I think something that happens at Peak Leadership sort of universally that I hear a lot about is it really helps women gain confidence. I mean, in so many different ways. How did the piece of powerful questions give you more confidence?
Well, I think that particular module in Peak Leadership where we practice those powerful questions through coaching, it made me feel more confident in my mentorship abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually recently mentored somebody I know who was trying to break into the outdoor industry. And when we started, she was really excited, but didn't really know where to start. So I started asking her powerful questions, and it was probably the first time I really put that into practice consciously. And instead of telling her, this is what I did and this is what you need to do to get into the industry, I asked her, for example, what are your proofs of success? List all of them. And then we would take that and iterate and say, how is this proof of success applicable to what you want to do? And so on and so forth. And we just kept iterating and asking those questions over and over again. And eventually we transformed her resume into a completely different story. Instead of listing jobs that she had performed, she now tells a story that, it talks about the different special projects she was on, the biggest wins in her career and why she wants to make a change and work in a space she's passionate about. And now she feels a lot more confident about making this big career change because of those powerful questions. And they allowed her to see that within herself. And, as a pioneer who recently rediscovered her confidence, I was able to use this tool to blaze a path for a future female leader in the outdoor industry. And we're both really proud of what came out of that.
Pauli, do you see yourself as a mentor? Is that something that's emerging in you?
Since going through Peak Leadership, yes.
Really? So, yeah, I want to hear more about that. Is it then kind of more, it sounds like it's been really organic and just showing up and you're drawing from your experience to really bring things out in others. Yeah.
And it's something that I've been doing a long time. As a canyoneer and a climber, I've actually mentored quite a few people in those spaces. And for me, it came really easily in the outdoor world. But when it comes to like professional pursuits, it was kind of a struggle to like translate what I knew and felt confident in the outdoors. It was, you know, a struggle to translate that into my professional life. And so, yeah, like I said, through peak leadership, I kind of was able to translate that and take those tools and have something that I can point to and use blazing that path.
I love hearing that. I mean, because really learning in a program, its true power is when you put it to practice and actually use it in the everyday world. So that's why months later from finishing the program, it's been so fun to touch back in with you and really see how you're developing your strengths, but you're also bringing that out in others and using some of those tools. And I love your process of keeping it alive and actually, you know, making it useful in your life. So I love that. I want to now, we're almost to 30 minutes. I want to open it up to questions out there and put your name in, where you're from, because it doesn't tell me that when you log into the comment box. And as you're doing that, I'd love to ask you another question, Pauli, as we're waiting for questions to come in potentially. How has peak leadership changed you? Maybe both on a personal and professional level.
Yeah, I think we've touched on this throughout the different themes we've discussed today. But yeah, I mean, in my personal pursuits in the outdoor world, I just kind of always felt like leadership came naturally. I think maybe being in that space, it feels really comfortable to me because it's just something I love to do. And, you know, I know from the expression of others that it does come naturally to me. I like to think I'm a pretty good teacher, and I love leading groups through canyons and up climbs. And, you know, I used to think that because it came so naturally to me, that it would translate easily into my work. But before this program, I was struggling a bit with interpersonal relationships at work. And, you know, I just couldn't figure out what was wrong. It just wasn't meshing. But, you know, I basically took peak leadership because I wanted to invest in myself as a leader in the outdoor industry, not just as a climber and a canyoneer. And, you know, just the program gave me a lot more tools to be mindful and like recognize where I was lacking, and, you know, that I needed to have more patience and emotional intelligence with my colleagues. And, you know, just like I do when I'm building my canyon teams and my climbing groups, and the tools that peak leadership gave me, they just helped me get there.
I love that. And I think it just really, more than anything, ignited that spark, reignited that spark within you, which was, and I could see that. I could just see you almost like a rose open up a little more and a little more throughout the program, and really get back in touch with your brilliance and your beauty. So, and what would you say to others who are on the fence to take a program like this?
I say just do it. It's a fantastic program. It's, you know, a great toolkit. I feel like you're going to learn more about yourself than you ever could have thought you would. And you can learn about others too. And it was also a great opportunity to network with other women in my space in the outdoor industry. And, you know, I feel like coming out of peak leadership, I have like a crew to tap into for anything to do with my professional pursuits and in the outdoor industry.
It was a great group of women. It was really, really fun. Wow, I just lost the screen on my computer. Can you still see me? I love that. Okay, let me find it. There we are. All right, so for anyone that wants to learn more about coaching, about the peak leadership experience, I am going to post the website. That's the best place to go. It's mindovermountains.com. And on there, you can read more about the program. You can watch a 45-minute webinar and just learn more about what we're doing. And feel free to contact me. I love having conversations with women, so I always put time aside for, free discovery calls and exploring where you are in your career and where you want to go. So I'm always happy to talk about that. And let's see, I'll post this. There we go. And I just want to thank you, Pauli. It's been really, really meaningful to reconnect with you and hear how you've synthesized peak leadership and how you've actually put this to practice in your world and your life. And yeah, it's great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you too, Kim, catch up. And, I just want to thank you for everything, going through that experience with you. And I can say to everybody that Kim is a fantastic coach.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that little plug. All right, Pauli, till next time, I'm going to end our broadcast. Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you next week. I'm going to post on the newsletter our topic for next week, and see you same place, same station on Wednesday at 11 o'clock Mountain Time. So take care, everyone.